All right, so tonight we're going to talk about 5 tips to save time in Lightroom. And the first tip I have is to know where to find your pictures. If you have been using Lightroom for a long time and you're already really good at the library, then some of this, will be review for you. But for the most part, a lot of people who come to the webinars are brand new to Lightroom, so we wanted to kind of give them some tips for making their Lightroom experience easier and more efficient and less frustrating. So knowing where to find their pictures, and that sounds so simple, doesn't it? But you wouldn't believe how many people contact me saying, I don't even know where my pictures went. Lightroom lost my pictures. So sometimes it's that they've imported wrong or they've moved pictures around outside of Lightroom, which we're going to talk about. So first I want to show you how to import efficiently so that you know where your pictures are. If you have the notes, I'm just starting on page 1. Again, if you're coming in late, there are notes for this that was sent out in the email or a link or something. There might be a certain page to download them on. I'm not real sure, but I'm sure I'll find out later. And thank you for your patience with that. And don't worry if you don't have the notes because, you can get them later. Don't worry about that. Okay. So know where to find our pictures. So we're going to import. And how you can import, you can go to File and Import. Oops, you can go up to File and then down to Import Photos and Video, or we can just come down to Import. Now, if you notice, I don't have a lot of pictures in this catalog. I just started a brand new catalog just for webinars. You can have multiple catalogs. That's not, not one of the tips, but I decided to create a whole new catalog so we could see the import process and not be, distracted by too many pictures in my stuff. So I am going to import some photos. Now, there are different ways you can import. Okay, we can import from a card reader. We can import from your internal hard drive, so pictures you already have on your computer, and you can also import from a device like a hard drive or a thumb drive. So you see I have a hard drive right here with a bundle of mess of pictures and stuff, and then I have a little thumb drive. Okay, so I could import from there, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm actually gonna get rid of, or actually I'll go ahead. Let's do one from this, and I'll come in here. Let's just do. Okay, so I just took that one out and took my daughter and snapped some pictures. These have already been imported before, and so you can see I've already renamed them, but don't worry about that. They're already on this hard drive, and I just want to let this catalog know they exist. They're already on my external hard drive. I want to let this Lightroom catalog know that they exist and where to find them when I want to edit them. So here, I don't have to choose a destination because I'm just going to add them. What if I want to have them on my internal hard drive as well? Well, then I'm going to copy them. Okay, so these choices up here at the top, you need to pay attention to them. If you just add them, then they're going to stay on their source, whatever the source is, the thumb drive or the external hard drive or your camera card, okay? Whichever one it is, if you just choose to add. If you want to have them on your internal hard drive of your desktop or your laptop, you want to copy them. Okay, so now if I copy them, let's go back. See what happens to add. I only have choice of just some file handling, which is not much, and then I have apply during import, which I could put a keyword in, and maybe we'll do summer. Okay, so I can add some keyword tags, but there's nothing else there. There's no other choices. See, I have file handling and add apply during import. I don't have any other type of options over here. Now watch what happens as soon as I do copy. So now I have a file renaming, I have the apply during import, and I have destination. Destination is what you need to pay attention to. This is where it's important so that you know where your pictures are, you know how to find them. this will also pop up if we want to move the pictures. If I want to move them from my external hard drive to my internal or somewhere else, we'll get that with move. But generally, you can do add or copy. So now I can choose where to put these pictures. So I might say, okay, I'll put them under there and maybe into one folder, and I can name them. And I don't have time to go into this in depth. We have some blog posts about importing and destinations, so search those out and really pay attention. The biggest tip I can give you is to take your time when you're importing. People make the mistake of just thinking, oh, I'm just going to import, I'm not going to worry about whatever it is, and just go. Well, their pictures may end up in some crazy folder, nested under 5 other folders, and they can't ever find them. So take your time every time, because the next time you import, so the next time I import, this folder, Georgia, will be selected. Well, what if I'm importing a wedding or something like that? So you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Take your time. Where it says organize, you can do it by original folders, by date, that kind of thing. So I did into one folder, Georgia, and all right. Usually it shows you what, oh, come on, that's not what I want. Usually it shows you what it's going to look like. And it's not doing that. Okay. So let's just import it. Usually it gives you a little shaded out. Not sure why it's not doing that. And I'll just do import. Okay, so I'm going to import again, but I have got to eject something. I only have so many ports here. Now I'm going to import via a card reader. I forgot to get this out before. And I did not have any new pictures to import, so I grabbed an old card. And I'm going to do this. I use the Kingston card reader. It's only like $12. It's very handy. Okay. And as soon as I plugged the card in, my import screen came up. And what this is going to do is going to facilitate the download or upload of the pictures from the camera card, to either my external hard drive or my internal hard drive, wherever I want to take it to. Okay. So my Nikon D700, and go ahead and import all the pictures. Here we have the choice to rename. Okay, now this is not something I really wanted to go into, and I'm just going to show you quickly that I can do that. I have some presets set up. This is not for this webinar, but I have a preset. So now it's going to rename my files so they don't look like everybody else with the Nikon, because all the raw files for Nikons look the same. So now it'll be a little bit different. Apply during import. I'll do bridal portrait, Melissa. Okay, and I have to hit enter. And that's another one of the tips, is to use keywords, okay, during the import, so that you can find your pictures later. So let's say you forgot where you put them, but at least if there's keywords, we can find them as well. And now I'm going to choose my destination. Now, see what I told you? The last place we sent pictures to is what's coming up as my destination. Do I really want Melissa's bridal portraits going into a folder called Georgia? No. So now I would want to change this, and I would do bridals, or you could do by date or whatever. Okay, you can do whatever. Okay. It's really strange it's not showing me that. Okay. I'm not going to import these because they're already on my hard drive, and or actually on my external, but I'm going to hit cancel. That would import them and change the file name. All right, so I'm just going to hit cancel. I will be answering questions at the end, so if you want to, you can type them in as you think about them, or you can write them down. When I go back to answer questions at the end, I'll scroll up to the top and I'll read through and answer the ones that I have time to, that can be answered quickly and then apply to the whole group. So you can be asking questions now, and I will try and answer them at the end. Making sure. Okay. Okay, let's see. Now, the next thing you can do for finding your photos is create collections. Okay, so we did keywords, and your keyword list shows up over here. And again, I'm tailoring this for people who are brand new, so that's why I'm using a catalog that doesn't have so much to it, and it's going to be easier for us to see. So here I just have a limited number of keywords here because I've just imported a few pictures into this new catalog, and we can see that Georgia is one of the keywords here. So keywords are a great thing and have a lot. So in my catalog on my desktop, which is my main computer, I must have 300 keywords. And if you have a lot, what you can do is search right here. So I can start typing in so family comes up, and I'll click on that. And we can see just a few pictures of my youngest son's birthday back in October. If you want, you can back it back out of there, and we can see Georgia. Just start typing, and then you're going to click on the arrow over here on the side. You got to click on the arrow on the side to have those pictures show up. So I've got keywords, but now I want to do collections. And the reason a collection is so handy is because we can also access that in the Develop module, which I'll show you in just a little bit. So I'm going to create a collection just of these pictures for Georgia. And how I'm going to do that is come over here and see our panels. On the left side, we have Navigator, Catalog, Folders, Collections, Publish Services. I'm going to open up the collections, and you see I only have a few right now. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I'm going to choose Create a Collection Set. So we've got two things. We've got sets and we have collections. And I want to create a collection set called Family, or maybe Paget Family. Okay, and I'm just going to do that. So now it shows up Paget Family. There's no pictures or anything. So I'm going to come back over here to Georgia's pictures. So now I want to create a collection of Georgia's pictures. Collection sets hold collections. They don't hold pictures themselves. And I'll show you that. So you see right now there's no pictures in the Paget Family. When we create a collection, that is what's going to have the pictures. And I'll do Georgia. I'll put it inside the location, inside a collection set. And I'm going to choose Paget Family. Include selected photos, that's fine. There's only one selected, but that's okay. Can you see here? When they talk about selected pictures, the one that's kind of is whiter or lighter than the other grays. It's not really white, it's a very, very light gray. And then we have darker grays over here. This lighter one is the one that's selected. So that's the only one that's going to go in there, and that's okay. Okay, so we only have one picture. So let's say you create a collection later and you're like, oh, but I meant for all those pictures to go in there. So go back to your keyword, hopefully, or however you sorted them. And then we can just select all of them by doing Command A or Control A. So on a PC, Control A, on a Mac, Command A, and then just click on one of the pictures, not on the lighter area out here, one of the pictures, and drag over to your collection. See it's telling me I'm doing multiple photos. And now we have 31 pictures in the collection. Okay, so now when I go over to the Develop module, only that collection is what's showing up down here. Okay, only that collection. Now there's too many in there, we'd call it out, but I just wanted to show you that. If I go to the pictures I chose for tonight, we are only seeing that. So one of the complaints I get about Lightroom from new users is like, I hate having all of my pictures in Lightroom in the film strip in the Develop module. I'm like, what? If you're sorting by collections or keywords, you're only seeing those in the film strip. You're not seeing all of your pictures. So use those collections. And you see here, I'm in the Develop module, and I'm on the left. See, we have a Collections panel. We don't have a Keywords panel. We have a Collections panel. So I can change between collections right in here, but I can't change by keyword. So if I sort by keyword, like by Nate, and I come over to Develop, the only pictures in my film strip are Nate's birthday party, but if I change out of that, I can't get back to it. Okay, see, I can't get back to those Nate pictures. I'd have to go back to the library, back to the keyword, then back to Develop. So make those collections so you can get to your pictures quickly. So to cover the first thing, pay attention when you're importing. Pay attention to the destination. Pay attention to whether you're adding or you're moving or you're copying those pictures. Pay attention to the destination. Create or put in keywords. You can add keyword in import. You can also add a keyword once you're in here. Okay, so I might, I could keyword, this one right here, my nephew. So right there, I come in, hit a comma. Actually, I don't want this one to have Nate. I want this one to say Peyton. Okay, and now that left, because this is sorted by Nate's by Nate. We added that to it. Scooter, I could do in scooter, or cake. So you can add in lots of keywords and then sort down and find those pictures you want. Okay, I'm sure there'll be questions about that later, and I'll answer them. So now the next page, page 2, is about keyboard shortcuts. Now, I will be using these while I'm editing, and so I'm not going to go over all of them, but I do want to quickly say that anytime I say Control, say hit Control and whatever, if you're on a Mac, that means hit Command. Don't hit the Control key on your keyboard, Mac users. You're never going to use that Control key when you're editing in Lightroom. You're going to use the Command key. Okay? PC users, if you hear me say Command whatever, that means Control for you. I use both a PC and Mac, but sometimes I'll forget and give the keyboard shortcut only in PC talk or Mac, or speak, Mac speak or PC speak. Okay. So I'll go over those as we do them. So the next way, and those keyboard shortcuts, I know people are thinking, that really doesn't save much time. That saves so much time. Okay, so much time. I'm not busy moving my mouse over to do something or moving over here to click this or to click this. I am just quickly hitting a key on my keyboard and going on. Okay, and so let me. Okay. Here's a picture I've edited before, but it's a good one for using those brushes. And the brush is one that we use a lot. Okay, so I go to the brush a lot, and the keyboard shortcut for that is K. It doesn't make any sense, does it? A lot of these, like the eyedropper is W. We use that eyedropper for white balance, so that kind of makes sense. The crop tool is R. Well, R is in crop tool, so it makes kind of sense, Or you're going to reduce it. But K doesn't make any sense. We just memorize it. That's for the brush tool. And the brush tool allows you to make very specific changes to your picture. The changes you make in all the other, okay, let me back up because I've got a lot of new users. A lot of people have upgraded to 5 recently or just come into Lightroom. We have a lot of people who telling us, I just got Lightroom. I don't know how to use it. I'm confused. So let me cover this really quick. In the Develop module, that's where all the editing takes place in Lightroom. This left-hand side is where you can make the changes yourself, okay? And you have panels, basic, tone curve, hue, saturation, luminance. This is all the same, even though it's got different names here. Split toning, detail, lens correction, effects, camera calibration. All of these will apply it to the entire picture. Those are called global edits. So if I increase the exposure, it does it over the entire picture, okay? If I change the white balance, it's going to do it over the entire picture. And so if I change some things, it does it over the picture as a whole. I can't control where it is. It's not like in Photoshop where I can mask it or hide some of it. I can't do that in Lightroom. So the changes in all the panels are global. Okay, so you might want to write that down if you're jotting down notes, but it's on the notes that I gave. But if you didn't get those just yet, but know that it's on the notes too. But those are global edits. Up here are our local adjustments. Okay, so if I'm going to crop this picture, it's going to be to a specific area. Okay, so I'll do like that, and it'll crop it. This is the clone heal or spot removal, which you have clone or heal. And that is going to be to a very specific location. So if we wanted to, clone out a particular area or maybe a blemish or a scratch on her face, it would be very specific, local. Okay, this red eye reduction, this is the graduated filter and the radial filter and the brush. So the local adjustments will help you pinpoint particular areas. And what's nice about the brush tool is that you can use the brush tool to edit, give it a clean edit, make it look the best it can be, but still look like it came out of the camera. And then when you apply presets, it won't overwrite those changes that we made. Okay. On the left-hand side here, we have presets, snapshots, history, and collections. Now, collections are just collections you created in the library module. History is a history of everything you've done to this picture from the minute it got imported. It'll save it forever, not just when you close out. So say this picture's from 2 years ago and I edited it here and edited it there and played with it. It would show me everything I had done in the past 2 years to this picture. Snapshots are just little moments in time, which I'll use those in a minute. And then presets are anything that you import, okay, into your Lightroom, and they are going to be global changes. The navigator panel is just a preview, okay, of what your image looks like, where you are. So if I'm zoomed in, okay, it's going to show me. Oops. It's showing me where I'm at. So this is what I'm looking at right there. We can move it around. So if we want to get really close, we can move like that. So you just click in it and drag it around. You can also change it, your view right here. So I can say, ooh, I want to be that close. That's really close. That's 8:1, and we're seeing her eye right here. Let's change it to 3:1. Okay, we're seeing that. 2:1. So there you can, if you want to really zoom in, so that'll change it around. Then if you have your what am I thinking? Okay, presets here. Then let me get out and let's do something like this. It previews what it will look like. Okay, it'll preview what it looks like. The thing to know about presets is a couple things. They're not all one size fits all, and they're going to overwrite any changes you made over here in your global adjustments. Okay, in your global adjustments. So when I brighten this picture, because it was a little underexposed, see, I've brightened it up a lot. So when I'm looking over here, this is reset it back to its original. Okay, let's back up. Okay, so this picture was already a little dark. And so you might have to tweak it and say, okay, well, this picture was underexposed to start with. So now that's what that would look like if I brought it up where it should be. But we can preview them, each one, and you hover over it and it changes. You don't get the effect unless you click on it. Okay, unless you click on it. And there we go. So this, I'm using the color Lux right now as an example. I use the base 3, bright base, for underexposed picture. This picture was underexposed, so I clicked on it and that's what it brought it to. Those are global adjustments, not local adjustments. And typically you can't layer presets unless it's a layering collection. Some of the collections from Pretty Presets are meant to be layered one on top of the other. Okay, all right. So now let's talk about brushes, because brushes will save you time. They really will. The brushes I use the most are the Perfect Portrait brushes, but I also have the Color Luxe, which is with this set. They came together, so the presets and the brushes. And then the portrait brushes, Perfect Portrait, are great for editing pictures of people. So that's what I'm going to use quickly. And first I want to do is I'm just going to reset this picture. So if you want to start over, just going to reset it. And I'm going to close down that panel so we get a little bit bigger picture here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Too much. There we go. Real quick, I just need a Lightroom 101 webinar is what I need. Down here is your toolbar. Okay, so when I was hitting the Command plus button, keys to zoom in, see Command plus or Control plus, and if it did it more than I wanted, but when I would do it back before, took it all the way back. You have a zoom here that you can click and just bring in. Okay, see that? I'm bringing it in. It's going to go through the different ratios, and so just do it until you find what you want. If you're not seeing the zoom, then you can come in here and click. See the little triangle right here? And you get to pick what you want to see in your toolbar. All right. So if that is unchecked, then we're not seeing the zoom. So if you're not seeing the zoom on yours, click on the little triangle and then click zoom, and then you can do that. All right. So now I'm going to use the brush. And I'm going to come up, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to brighten it a good bit. I add light. And if it's too much, okay, which I don't think it is, it looks good. If it's too much, you can always just back it down a little bit, like that. When you're using a brush, you have feather and flow. Feather's how much it blends into the area around it, okay? It's kind of like a soft, if you're used to Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, a soft brush is the same as a high feather. A hard brush is a low feather. The flow is how much of the effect that we're applying down. So if you use the brushes and you think, okay, well, I know that one's always too strong for me, then lower the flow. But remember that, so the next time you use a brush, you increase the flow if you need the full effect. When you're going to do a new brush, oops, about like, oh, there we go. Now, if you want to do something different, you need to make sure to check New. Actually, I want a little bit more of that. Okay. I'm going to click New. So now maybe I want to, warm her up a little bit. Skin temp warm. It's going to warm up a little bit. And if it's too warm, again, we're just going to tip that down a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to click New. And then I'm going to smooth her. And there are tutorials on how to use the brushes. The important thing to know when you're using brushes is to click New in between them. And also, if you want to see where you're going quicker, to help you move quicker, we can show the mask. Now, make a note. If you're a Photoshop user and you're new to Lightroom, mask in Lightroom is not the same as a mask in Photoshop. So I'm going to show you the mask. That only shows me where I'm brushing. It's not like I'm hiding it or revealing it or concealing it. It's not like that, okay? So now it's just showing me where I brushed. Now, I was real sloppy on purpose, okay? So I hit some areas I didn't want to hit. Skin smoothing means we're going to be blurring those pixels. Well, I don't want to blur her eyes there, do I? Or even her lips. So I'm going to use the erase option in the brush. And now I can come in, and wherever I click and brush my mouse, hold my mouse over, it's going to erase that effect, okay? Because the mask is only showing me where I brushed, and so now I want to take that off and not have the softening go on those areas. If you want to hide the mask so that you can see what it looks like, you just turn the mask off. If you're not seeing this down here, which you should. View, hide toolbar. Okay. So when I come in to do that, okay, so if you're not seeing, so I'm using the brush again, if you're not seeing that toolbar right there, come up to View and Show Toolbar, and that'll come up, okay? Make sure to Show Toolbar. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to do New again, and maybe I want to brighten up her eyes, or whiten up her eyes a little bit. I'm going to zoom in. Now, if you zoom in, and you're in the wrong area, but you don't want to go and show your navigator panel, you want to be quick, hold down your space bar. See the little hand comes up? I'm holding down my space bar. I'm going to click my mouse and drag. Okay? And then it gets me where I want to go. And I let up. Now my brush will come back. If you have a mouse with, this is a lot of information I know, so I hope I'm not overwhelming you. If you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, the middle will, if you push away from you, it will make your brush bigger. If you pull back towards you, it's making it smaller. You can also do the same thing with the bracket keys on your keyboard. Look at the letter P on your keyboard and then look to the right. So you have two bracket keys. So the right one makes it bigger, the left one makes it smaller. Okay? We want to make it smaller. Now the other thing about the whitening is I want a smaller feather because I don't want it to bleed over into the eyes. So now when I brush, it's just going to hit that area. We're just making these a little less grayish looking. The thing about whitening the eyes, you don't want to make them perfectly white because then the people are going to look like aliens, okay? You want everything to be gradual. Gradual changes are the best. I'm going to click New. If you get nothing else out of tonight, if you're new to using brushes, you have to click New in between the changes, okay? So if now I'm going from eyes whiten, I'm going to go to eyes blue. I really think your eyes are blue. In other pictures, they look more blue. I know they look green right now, but I think they're blue. So I'm going to come in here and do eye color blue. And do that. Now, if it makes them too blue, you're like, oh gosh, they're beautiful, but it's not realistic, then we can reduce that down too. Okay. And how you can do that is turn the little triangle, okay, and then just reduce the effect. So it's not as much. Okay. Now I'm going to click New. I want the triangle to be back open. I want now to do catch lights. So I'm going to brighten up these little catch lights right here. I click New. Maybe I want to do the eyeliner. I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. I'm just going to go over her a little bit right here, just to accentuate her eyelashes just a little bit. Just kind of being quick. I click New. I know I'm moving fast, but there are tutorials for these. But again, you know, this can be with any regular brush. You could be using one of the brushes that come with Lightroom up here and doing that as well. So this is under eye circle. I'm just going to bring this up right here. Okay. Click Done. I'm going to back away. Command minus is what I did, or Control minus. Now, I'm going to open the brushes back up because I forgot to show you something. Down here at the bottom of your brush tool, there is a little box. It's a white box and a black box, what it looks like. It's a rectangle. So now the brushes are showing, but if I click on the black, the brushes are not showing, okay? So there we've kind of turned them off. We've deactivated the brushes. So there's before the brushes. There's after the brushes. Before, after. Okay, so we'll back away a little bit more. Okay, now here's another quick tip. If you want to quickly see before and after, you can come all the way down here and click on the YY, or you can just hit Y on your keyboard. Okay, so we quickly have before and after. But what if your side panels are showing, you have a small screen like I do, I'm working on a 13-inch. Well, just hit your Tab key on your keyboard. Oops, hit it again. So now by hitting the tab key on my keyboard, it pushed away the panels. I can bring the panels back by hitting tab again. Right? If I'm done seeing the before and after, then I can just hit Y on my keyboard. Now, that little Y trick is going to show whatever preview choice you have selected here. So we've got left, and right. We can do a split like this. If we pull her up, we can move it over a little bit. Okay, so we can see the before and after. You can also do it top and bottom split. I typically go with just this one. This is what I most often do. Okay. Okay, so the brushes, the other nice thing is the graduated filters. Now, the graduated filters are this little triangle here with some little lines, and you click on it, and when you go to the word, whatever's beside the word effect, and click, if you've installed brushes, you'll notice that all the brushes show up there because they use the same folder in Lightroom. They use the local adjustment folder. So don't worry about that. So let's say we want to brighten up one side of the picture and not the other. Back away. So maybe we want to brighten up this side of the picture. How you use a graduated filter is click and drag up, okay? Or drag over or drag down, whichever you want to do. We could just brighten it. We can warm it. So I could really warm it up, which, too much there. Don't want to do that. But maybe we did want to warm it just a little bit. Maybe want to brighten it up just a little bit, and we can add some contrast. You can do whatever you want to there. But that's how you use graduated filters. Okay, maybe we want, a little bit more. Maybe I say, okay, I want it again. So I'm just click new, and I'll do it again. Don't want to make it too much there, too hazy. So that is graduated filters. They are very handy for balancing out light. Okay, so if you have a really dark area, you can bring in a graduated filter. Okay, so I'm sure there'll be pictures about questions about brushes, but I need to move on. Okay, so let me talk about syncing edits. And so I'm gonna come over here to this picture right here, and let's say I want to use something from the Winter Wonderland set that just came out. And I'm going to do, let's see, maybe blue lace. Okay, so that's blue lace. And if I do some other things to it, so maybe I'm going to add a little vignette, maybe. Come down here to effects. Maybe if I want to add a little vignette, which I probably wouldn't, but I'm just trying to do something. What if I feel like, okay, I need it to be a little brighter, so I'm just going to add a little more exposure to it, just a little bit. And say, okay, I'm happy with this. This is what I want. Oh, and maybe some sharpening. So let's go down to sharpening. Sharpening is under the detail panel. And maybe I increase the sharpening. When you're sharpening, this is not in the notes, when you're sharpening, you want to bring this masking up if you're editing people. Because what that masking, now this masking is kind of like masking in Photoshop. It's the same masking as an ACR, okay? And this will not apply the sharpening to anything that has the mid-tone color like skin tones, okay? So that'll hide it. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but apply some sharpening. If we need a little noise reduction, you could apply that here too. So I've only done it to one picture. I've only done it to this one picture in the film strip. Let's say I want to apply it to all the pictures in this same series because they're in the same lighting, the same location, and this is what I want all these pictures to look like. So what I'm going to do is hold down my Shift key and click. Okay, so now they're all selected. But let me back up. I'm going to deselect by Command D or Control D. Let's say I only want this picture, and these two. So I want these three, but not these two right here. So if you want to skip over particular pictures to sync, you can hold down your Control key on a PC or Command key on a Mac, and then click. Okay. The first one that you have selected is going to be like our anchor. So what if I had edited this picture first? Back up. If I'd edited this picture first and then I clicked on the others, this is the one they would sync with. Okay. So the one you first select, that's the one we want to sync with. And I'll hit sync down here at the bottom of the right panel. Okay, sync. Now, your synchronized settings comes up. You can choose to sync everything, or you can choose just to sync particular things. So maybe you think, okay, no, you do want to sync your process version, okay? You may say, no, I just want to sync, the sharpening, or no, I just want to sync the basic panel or whatever. I'm just going to check all, except for you don't ever want to sync spot removal, and you don't ever want to sync your brushes, okay? Even though you might think, oh, they're in the same spot, that eye whitening may not line up, or the whitening the teeth may not line up, so don't sync brushes. You can sync crops, you can sync spot removals. I'm probably not going to sync the crops. I don't think any of them have been cropped before. And now I'm going to synchronize. So it's going to apply the same setting on these other pictures. Okay. Now these over here of the girl by herself, those pictures were already pretty bright to start with. Okay. So probably overexpose them a little bit. You want to come in here and pull it down a little bit. Okay. See, it's a little too bright, so you do that. So when you sync, know that you might have to come in and just tweak a little bit after that. Okay, but presets can really help save you time. Presets are just pre-recorded settings, okay? And know that a lot of times those presets are competing for the same sliders. That's important to remember. I know it's not on about syncing, but that is how some people get confused. When they click on one preset and they click on another, it's going to change those sliders from one to the other. These sliders can't be in two places at once. And that's why a lot of presets are not layerable. Like, you can layer actions in Photoshop. You can only layer certain presets. And the collections that you can layer from Pretty Presets are the black and white, the workflow, clean and creative advanced, the color lux to an extent. You can pick one from this, one from this, one from this. So you can add. So these are layerable as well, and but then some of them aren't. So like Dreamy Baby, Fine Art Film, Make It Matte. Those are not, and Retro Rock. Those are not layerable. So you're gonna have to pick one or the other, okay? Because they're gonna be competing for the same sliders. Okay, so syncing your edits saves time, syncing multiple images. Let's see. Okay, so the last tip I wanted to give was exporting. So a lot of people, they make a lot of mistakes getting their pictures into Lightroom, not choosing a destination, not putting keywords, and then later can't find their pictures. They also, which I didn't mention this before, when you have imported pictures, okay, you're just letting Lightroom know they exist. So if you installed Lightroom on your hard drive, okay, so you just got Lightroom, but let's say you've been shooting and you've been using Photoshop and you have 5,000 pictures on your computer. They're already there. When you're importing them into Lightroom, you're not duplicating them. You're not creating whole new files. You're just letting Lightroom know they exist. Hopefully you're just adding them. If you copy, then you're creating whole new images. But if you're just adding them to the catalog, you're just letting Lightroom know they exist. Now, if I go to my Mac Finder, okay, tomorrow, and I'm playing around and I start moving pictures around, does Lightroom know I've done that? Can Lightroom read my mind? Is Lightroom constantly searching our hard drives to find out if the pictures are in the same places? Nope. So if you move your pictures in Windows Explorer or Mac Finder, your Lightroom, when you open up Lightroom again, you're going to have these little exclamation marks and it'll be blank. Or sometimes it'll give you the preview and it'll tell you this file is missing. And that's because you have moved it outside of Lightroom. If you need to move files, you need to move it inside of Lightroom. And how you do that is go to your folders, and then you just you click and drag, okay? So if I wanted to move, again, this catalog doesn't know a lot of pictures exist because I just created this catalog, but I can move them here. So maybe I can just click here and then drag this up to this one, okay? See how I did that? If you decide, oh, I didn't mean to do that, just hit, well, maybe it's not letting me do that now. I can move it back, but usually you can do Control Z to undo, but not when you're moving pictures. So be careful with what you're doing outside of Lightroom. And don't blame Lightroom if you move pictures and then later it doesn't know where they are, because that's something you've done. All right, so let's say we want to export these pictures. And maybe I'll just pick 2 of these to go. Maybe those 2. Okay, so I'm going to export these pictures. You can export from the Develop module or from the Library module. It doesn't matter. If you're in the Develop module and you're lazy like me and I don't, care to go back to the library, I'm just going to export right now. You can come up to File and Export. When you're exporting, you're going to take your time again. Okay, take your time to think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. If you're not, and we're going to talk about presets to save time, but this is my tip for new users. You have choices here. Okay, so each of these things need to be looked at. Almost all of them, not all of them. I'm closing them up. So we have some things we need to do, some choices to make. So export location. This means, okay, they're going to export these files. Lightroom is going to create all new files with the changes we make. That's how Lightroom works. It's non-destructive, meaning it's not going to alter your original file. It's going to create a whole new file for you. And it does it on export. The export location is, they're saying, okay, it'll tell us where to put this picture. So under Export To, you can choose a folder later, useful for presets. Same folder as original. I use that one a lot. Like whatever folder it was already in, I tend to do that one. And then I'll create a subfolder for like edits, or if it's going to be pictures for the web, I'll do web. You can even say web size, that kind of thing. And then file renaming. The only time I rename the files is sometimes I will put web at the end, okay, to let me know this is the web size one. You also need to look at image sizing, okay? So if you're going to resize it for the web, 72 is a good resolution. You're going to change it. You might change the dimensions or the width or height, the long edge, short edge, that kind of thing. So look at that one. You also need to look at file settings. Make sure your quality is to 100. Most of the time, that's generally what you want it to be. You want your image format often to be JPEG, color space to be sRGB. If you want to sharpen on output, you can do it for screen or for matte, like for paper or glossy paper. And then watermarking. Okay, you can create a watermark in here. And let's see. So we can just do like something like a blog address or whatever. So those are some basics that are in there, and you can customize that. Anyway, long story. I'm not going to get into that. Watermark presets that we have made available before. And you can edit those and save. You can create lots of different watermarks and locations for the watermarks to go. And then we can hit export. Now, all that said, you can also, if you do the same steps over and over and over again, you can create a preset for that. And there are some import or some export presets that I think are still available, pretty presets. And what they have done is just recorded some basic things, like the file sizes and the folders and things like that, to make it faster. Okay. If you want to create a preset for this, we can choose Add. You can name your preset, where you want it to go. So if we did this, and we could just do, web pics. Hit Create. Okay. So then you can see I've done it before here. I have one for Rose, Amanda Paget web edits. I've just created different ones as different webinars for examples. And then when I'm going to cancel this. Well, the next time you export, you can come up and do export with a preset. We'll come down and I'll do, say, for Facebook. And look, it's going to do it right there for me. I don't have to choose anything else. It's already, a pre-selected location, a pre-selected file name, pre-selected file size and sharpening, and what type of, if there's a watermark or not a watermark, and it's going to do it very quickly. I think my computer's being slow because my battery's down to 35% here. Okay, so now it's showing me, it's got the file name and then just FB behind it. Okay, so those export presets can really save you a lot of time, and you can see those on page 5 of the notes, and there is also a blog post with a lot more information about that. If you are more of an intermediate and advanced user, so beginner users, just kind of listen, don't think you're going to do this, don't try this right now, or don't think I expect you to do this. But if you're more intermediate and advanced, and you are really familiar with all the tips that I've shown tonight, then you might try customizing your experience a little bit more by going into the Preferences folder or panel. So if you're on a Mac, you're going to click on Lightroom and Preferences. If you're on a PC, you're going to go to Edit, down to Preferences. And you should probably have all seen the Preferences menu because of installing presets. So I'm going to go to it, and we have these different things. So here you can, decide, well, that splash, that Lightroom splash that comes up, you can say, I don't want to show that anymore. Take that off. We can automatically check for updates so that you're not having to, you're using Lightroom and all of a sudden lots of problems are starting to come up and wondering what's happening. You start searching the internet and come to find out, lo and behold, oh, there's been 2 updates and I don't know about that. Maybe that's the cause of my problems. That has happened. So I like to automatically check for updates. And there are just some other things you can select. Okay, when starting up, use this catalog. This one is loading the most recent catalog. So the next time my Lightroom starts up, it'll use the one I just used. I can change that to prompt me when starting, okay, or to tell it to use a particular catalog, okay. So whatever I choose there. Treat JPEG files next to RAW files as separate photos. This can be confusing sometimes if people shoot JPEG and RAW. Then if you don't have that selected, then it will treat them as one. You're only going to see one. And so that can help. Just the different things. So presets. One thing to know, do not check this. Store presets with catalog. Watch what happens if I do this. All my presets just left, didn't they? They're gone. All right, so we want to uncheck that so our presets will show. We might choose you might like the auto tone, so just play with different things to see what it is you like. If you have Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, Photoshop, it automatically recognizes it. If you have Photoshop Elements, you're going to come in here to the additional external editor, and you're going to have to tell where to locate PSE. That's what you're going to have to do. Okay, file handling. So just go through this and start choosing what best fits you. Okay. The other thing to think about is the file renaming on import. That's something I briefly went over during the import process so that your files don't look like everybody else's. And there's times when that has happened. When I was in a photography retreat and we're kind of sharing pictures, well, all the Nikon users had the same file names, DSC. So it can be confusing that way. And so I learned to change my file name. Quick collections. I love quick collections. Smart collections. And I'm going to show you those really quick. I don't have a whole lot of time. But a smart collection shows up under the collections. And there's some that are already come with Lightroom. Okay. Again, there's not many because this catalog is real small. I just started it. And I'm going to create a smart collection by coming up to collections and hitting plus and do smart collection. And I have in my other catalogs, I have some for pictures that are over a certain ISO. So I can look at those, maybe make sure I apply noise reduction to those. I have some, I like to catch that, what were my other ones? I'm drawing a blank here. I have like 4 special ones. Oh, because I'm using other people's pictures as samples, I have my metadata on mine, and I can go in and choose to see which pictures are not mine. Okay, so we got camera information. You can choose by camera. You can do by the creator. Let's see. Yeah, by the creator. So I can choose is, and then Amanda Paget, or is not. Okay, Amanda Paget. Just make sure if I have my metadata in there. Oops, let it come up. Okay, but they should all show up. That's interesting. All right, I didn't do something right. Mine might even show up, but I don't have my metadata in there. Oh, okay. Let me show you about the metadata because I've just started this one. And let's go to my pictures. Some of mine are Nate. Okay, so I did not do anything with the metadata, all right? But this is where you can create presets and have you as the creator. And a lot of times I'll just see, there we go. Okay. So that's what I was talking about. So I have those set up on my my desktop so that I make sure if I give credit when I'm using a picture that's not mine. Okay, well there you go. I can make sure if I can do it by certain creators. We use different people's pictures. I can, if we're looking for a Brooke Logue picture or a Shannon Painter, I think. So I can set those up by the different photographers. You can do lots of different smart collections. I enjoy those. So that's something if you're more advanced. I think that's it. Quick collections, apply to import. Okay. So now I am going to show you quickly about the Winter Wonderland. I don't know that everybody knows there's a new collection out by Pretty Presets, and it is really fun. Okay, and what it does is it kind of simulates snow. They have a great one for Photoshop that you can use brushes or actions that create the snow. And until Lightroom 5 with the radial filter, we couldn't do snow. But now you can kind of make it look like snow in Lightroom. So I'm going to show you how. Oops. And it's the Winter Wonderland collection. At the top, there's some all-in-ones. Okay, so there's some all-in-ones. There's even a black and white. So we might say, okay, Purple Frost, Silver Dream, Winter Light, a little sluggish here. Come on, there we go. All right, and then we can reset and try different ones. So let's say I'm just going to hit reset. Oh, it was blue lace, kind of like that bluish tint. Okay, so if we like that, then we can add a haze if we want, a little bit more hazy. In a particular location. If you got grass, this will kind of pull the green out of the grass, which there's no grass here. We can add a little bit of a blur to it if we want to. And then you can add different snow. So we can see in the preview panel what it might look like. So this is mixed snow. Okay, so we have some kind of going down and some. It might take a while to change my thing. Okay, so once you've done that, and if it is doing some snow in some areas you don't like, then you click on the radial filter, come in here, and these are pins, okay? These are pins. If you do that, if you have the snow thing and you're like, well, I followed all the tutorials, but I'm not seeing those pins, down here at the bottom, okay, where it says show edit pins, yours might be on never. So the pins will never show even when you're in there. You need to make sure it's either on auto or always. I like mine in auto. And how auto works is that when I'm over here in the side panels, they don't show up. When I come into the picture with my mouse, they show up. And then you just click on one that you don't want to be there and just hit delete. And we might say, okay, we don't want these over their face, maybe. Maybe that one right there. And then the other nice thing about the set is it comes with some brushes. So we can click on the brush tool. Click on whatever's showing here. A lot of people get confused when they're installing the brushes. They're like, well, I've done everything by the instructions. I still don't see them. You have to click here, and it might be exposure. It might be highlights. It's whatever you use last. So click on that word and then scroll down. And so now this is a snow brush. And do the feather about like that, like that. And now wherever you click, it will add like a snowflake. And if you want it more defined, you reduce the feather down, make it a little smaller, let's do some small ones, and click. Oh, let's do even smaller. Click, click, click. So wherever you click, it'll add another little snow. You can increase the feather, do a few more, make it bigger, click some, make them real big, like that. If you want to delete a particular brush, then wherever you started, there's only one pin. I clicked a lot of places. So what I need to do is show my mask, And then I can hit the erase brush and say, okay, well, I didn't really want this one right here. I don't want those. Or maybe not that one either. But I want the other ones. So it's really a lot of fun. And then you can sync it as well. And the snows will be different for the horizontal versus the vertical. So if we come over here to the vertical one, and let's say maybe I want plum fairies, want a little bit of a haze, lighten it up a little bit. And now I'm going to come down to the vertical. I wouldn't use the horizontal, I'd use the vertical. Okay, let's do something like, there we go, something like that. Again, if it puts some snow in areas you don't want, just come in here and just click on those you don't want. I'm just going to move out, I don't want that one. There you go. And that's how you use it. And then you export just like you normally would. Can you put photos in multiple collections? Janet asked that question, and that's a great question, Janet. So what she asked again is, can you put photos in multiple collections? And you definitely can. So let's create a collection here. Let's do one of just family. So I'll create a collection of just do kids, okay? And I'm going to put it inside Paget Family. I'll hit create. So I've got Georgia here in one, so I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to drag it to kids. So here she's in 2. And then what if I want Nate's pictures in there as well? And I'll select all those and drag those into kids. Okay, so now I've got Georgia's pictures in kids as well as Georgia. And when this comes in handy is when I shot a wedding, I had pictures that had collections for the entire shoot, for the entire event. Then I had collections for just pre-wedding pictures, of the bride or the groom, and I had pictures of the wedding event itself, the ceremony. Then I had pictures of the reception. Then I had pictures of going away, and I had different collections for those. So that when I was editing in the develop, I didn't have 500 pictures down here. I had just that particular timing of the event, and that was very helpful to me. And then my second shooter had her pictures and broken out that way too. So many of her pictures were in multiple collections. Plus, they were in the main wedding collection. So definitely you can have one picture being in different collections. And what's nice is that if I am in the Georgia collection here and I go to the develop module and I pick a picture, and this was for a tutorial, so I was taking her in all different lights. So if you're wondering why I was doing that, it was like I was changing the light as I went around. And let's say I did something drastic. Let's do something like I really blew it out, okay? So you see it here, right? Blowing it out, we can see it. Now if I go to kids, there it is. That same change was made to that picture. So if you have a picture in 5 different collections, all you have to do is edit in one, and that change will show up in all the different collections. Good question. Let's see. Can you rename a block of pictures during import? Definitely. And that's so when you're importing, just so you know, you can't ever, like when you're doing the keywords during import, it's to all of them. You can't select a few to do a keyword on those and then select a few and do keyword. It's on all of them. Same with renaming. When you're renaming on import, it's going to rename all of them in that particular import. You can choose during import to not import everything. So you can deselect and then only select a few and then import those and then come back and import the rest. So you can do it that way. I see a lot of people had trouble with the audio, and I apologize for that. It's probably something on your end, or either on GoToWebinar. But I think because most people are hearing me. Let's see. Is there a preferred sequence to using brushes and presets? For example, if I've whitened teeth and eyes, then apply a preset, which is global, wouldn't the preset change the color of the teeth, etc.? That is a good great question, Peggy. So she's saying, is there a preferred sequence? Should you apply the preset, then do the brushes, or should you do the brushes and then the presets? My preferred sequence is the brushes, then the preset. Okay, it's just what I prefer to do. So she's saying if she whitens the eyes and then she applies the preset and then it does something to them, is that necessarily bad? The only time you're going to have that is when it's a preset with a huge color change. Okay, huge color change. And if you hadn't already whitened the eyes, it would be that much more significant. So you can always, if the change does still like yellow the eyes a little bit maybe, then you can always go back in there and increase that strength of the eye whitening. Does that make sense? But typically I do the brushes first and then I do global. It's just what I do. Because those globals are not going to change my brushes at all. Okay. Do you recommend a mouse or tablet or using a trackpad with Lightroom for precision or ease? Kara, I have a tablet at home. I have the Wacom Intuos Medium 5, and I absolutely love it. And I am way, way, way faster editing with a tablet, with a pen and tablet. But that's me personally. And the trick to using a pen and tablet is to only use it. So when I'm at my PC, I don't have a mouse available to me at all, which drives my kids crazy sometimes. But the tablet is also a touch, like a touch where you can the kids use the iPad, they can use the touch on the tablet as well. When I say a tablet, it sits on my desk and has a pen, just a black pen with a plastic tip that I use, and I move around, I do everything in that. So when I'm navigating the internet, I'm using that pen, but I can edit so much faster with that pen than I can with a mouse. So that's me personally. And it's a Wacom, Wacom. I love it. Okay, Libya asked, when I use a preset with the snow collection, how do I remove the snow from the face or body? I think I answered your question, Libya, but if I didn't, just put that down at the bottom. I'm pretty sure I got through that. This recording will be available in a few days. Let's see. And she'll send out a notification to everybody. Let's see. All right, Melissa, I might be reading this a two-parter to your question, but it said, can you use the brushes as graduated filters as well? So I think I understand your question. So say this part of this here is kind of bright and I want to darken it. And I have a darkening brush. So let's say add darkness. I can use it as a graduated filter. So you see it was a brush, but I can use it as a grad filter. See, it's going to darken that side. And if it's not, strong enough for me, I can come down and tweak it a little bit. Add a little bit more. Or I can always add another one. Okay. And that's a little too dark. Or if I just didn't want it all together, I'll just do that. But yes, you can use the brushes as a grad filter, and vice versa. If you have a grad filter that might work well as a brush, you can do that because they all go in the same pot, the local adjustments. That's a great question. What if you have a brighter pit that you want to brighten darken? Yeah, Angie, I'm not sure I understand your question either. What if you have a brighter picture you want to darken up without shadows? See if you can restate that for us and see if we can help. Carol, you can copy settings. I always choose to sync, and I don't want to get into that here with the beginners. It'll confuse them. But if you got a system that works, you go for that one. You go for that. All right, so I'm trying to look for. Sure, B. There is not information on the notes about layering presets. If you look at the website and look at the presets, I think they will let you know if they're layerable or not. The preset collections that are layerable are Winter Wonderland, the Workflow Clean Edit presets, or just called the Workflow. The black and white workflow, Clean and Creative Advanced is one of the top sellers. And you can do clean edits or you can do creative edits, and you kind of make your own look. Same with the black and white, you make your own black and white. The workflow is a clean edit. So this is just for creating a clean edit look. And a lot of people asking, what is a clean edit? Clean edit is where you edit the picture to look as good as it can be, but still look like it came out of the camera that way. So it's not like an urban look or a vintage look or a hazy look or a black and white. People will look at it and think, wow, she's an amazing photographer. Or, more frustrating, they'll say, oh, her camera takes great pictures, which we know is not true, right? So that's a clean edit. Okay, so I answered those questions. I see a lot about the snow. Okay. Can we show how to install? Okay, so that was Kara asking. Let me see. Can you give, okay, real quick, so can you give snow a direction, right to left? No. You would have to do that with your brush. So the question was, can they give snow, the snow a direction? And not with the presets. Now, let's go to this one. One of the presets does have a little bit of a direction, and I think it's the snow showers. So snow showers kind of goes from the left to the right, and there's no way to alter that other than switching the picture around, which I have never done that in Lightroom now, but in Photoshop you can, revert it to go the opposite direction. But so this one goes left to right, and that's that. What was I going to do? Oh, show how to install presets. So very quickly, I'm going to do that. So you'll want to have downloaded it. A lot of people will download and they'll get to that point and then not really know what to do. So you would have downloaded the presets, and let's see. That's Photoshop. Let's see. Okay. All I have here is the import export. If I go to downloads. Okay, a lot of times they're in your downloads. Okay, here we go. Winter Wonderland collection. I'm gonna click on it. Okay, so here's the Winter Wonderland, and we have the collection itself, and then we have the brushes. The brushes we'll get to in a minute. So with this one, if you double click into it, you see all the templates, the presets. We don't want that. We want the folder. So you click one time on the folder just so it's blue. All right, and then we're going to copy it. Command C or Control C on a PC, or you can go up to Edit and Copy. Okay, Edit and Copy, or you can right click it on Copy. However you want to copy it, you copy it. Then when you're in Lightroom, come to your Preferences folder. Under PC, it's Edit down to Preferences, Lightroom, and on a Mac, it's Lightroom Preferences. Click on Presets, then Show Lightroom Presets folder. Now, what pops up has Lightroom highlighted. You have to double click into that folder, and then for the presets that go on the left side, we're going to go into Develop Presets, and then you're going to paste it. Okay, so you can go Edit and Paste Item. I'm not going to because it's already there. Or you can do Command V or Control V. Okay, if you're wondering what that is, this one I was testing, so then we brought in the new one. Okay, so then that's the first one, and then here's the second one. So, so once you have it in there, once you paste it in there, it's going to show up. You don't want to go under User Presets. Don't put it under there. It just needs to be on the top, okay? On the top. So then you're going to restart your Lightroom. You're going to restart your Lightroom, and that, I'll show you where to look for them after that, okay? And come back. So with the brushes, see where it says Open? You need to open them, okay? And then you're going to copy, Control C, or Command C, and you're going to go back in here again, Lightroom, and then you're going to go to local adjustments, and then you're going to paste Command V as in Victor or Control V as in Victor, or go to edit and paste, and then you're going to restart your Lightroom. So once you've restarted your Lightroom, you can do both. You can do that one, and then you can do both the global and the brushes, and then restart just one time. Now, a lot of people, okay, and if you've done this, don't feel bad. It happens a lot. A lot of people will do everything correct, okay? They'll do everything correctly, and they will, let's say, make mine smaller. All right. So what happens is open up. I didn't do snapshots. Oh, I have it on solo. Okay. Take it off of solo. So I'll do this. I'll do this. Okay. So they'll have it. The other ones are not showing up. So I have a lot. So if they only have a few, their other panels will come up and it'll stop like right here. And all they're seeing are, you know, Lightroom black and white, Lightroom black and white tone, Lightroom color. And all of a sudden, then they're seeing the snapshots and the history and the collections. And they're not seeing their presets. They need to scroll down and then they'll see the name of the preset. And then they click the triangle. You got to click the triangle beside it. And then you'll see the individuals. Okay, a lot of people will get it all installed and they just won't scroll down far enough to see the collection name. And then with the brushes, you click on brush, and then beside the word effect might be exposure or tint or temp, whatever you use last is showing up here. You have to click there, and then your brushes will show down. If you can't scroll, if your mouse won't work, use the arrow key on your keyboard, okay? That'll bring it all the way down. I just had a customer who her scroll wheel wouldn't bring him down, so she could only get to, like, say, eyeliner, so the only way she could get around it was the arrow pad on her keyboard, okay, so to get down to them. But that is how you find them. Okay, a couple more questions. Do your raw presets work with raw? So previously in Lightroom 2 and 3, you really did need different, you need a raw preset for raw and JPEG for JPEG. But in Lightroom 4 and 5, you'll notice that they don't have separate raw and JPEG because the processing got much better and the changes were pretty much uniform, whether it was a JPEG file or a raw file. So if you're in Lightroom 4 and 5, the presets are the presets. You don't have to worry about if you shoot JPEG or if you shoot RAW. If you have Lightroom 2 or 3, then yeah, you need to use RAW presets for RAW. The other question I see is, do you recommend copying as a DNG when importing? And yes, I almost always copy as a DNG if I shot RAW. Okay, and a DNG is a digital negative, and it's just a generic format. It's still a RAW file, and you would still use RAW presets if you were, using Lightroom 2 or 3. You'd still use the RAW presets for those. But a DNG is just a smaller format. It's universal, and it works just like a RAW file. But it's not proprietary to Canon or Nikon or things like that. How do I delete the snow again? Okay, so let me show you that. Oops. And let me back up. If you want to back up, so I accidentally did something tint right here. So I can just hit delete, or I can just back up a step by doing Command Z or Control Z. So you see how it undid it? Okay, you can do that. So I've got snow here. If I want to erase some, I'm going to click on the radial filter. Again, this is Lightroom 5. Click on the radial filter and then move in. If you're not seeing the pins, first of all, your toolbar has to be showing. So if you're not seeing your toolbar, see that? It's gone away. Go up to View, Show Toolbar. Then come down to Show Edit Pins and make sure it's either on Always or Auto. And then come in. Okay, I got it there. And I'm going to click on it so it's active, and I'm going to hit Delete. Okay? You can also move it. If you say, well, I like it, I don't want to lose it, you can click and drag it somewhere else. Okay, so I might just leave these other ones here. And so that's how you do that. Okay, let's see. Yay, Diana, I'm so glad to hear that. She said she'd been using Lightroom about 3 years, but she always learned something new, and she hadn't used the preset brushes, so she's excited to try them. And I love the brushes. Okay, there was a question. I have somebody has Lightroom 3. If they get Lightroom 5 in CC, can you install the presets? Yes. So what I'm using right now is Lightroom CC. And what that means, or not, yeah, Creative Cloud. So CC is Creative Cloud, and you can still install presets just like you would normally if you had a hard copy version of Lightroom. Again, what I'm using right now is the Creative Cloud. Great question. Okay. Is there a way to select all the pins for the snowflakes when you are in radial filter removing unwanted snowflakes? No, there's no way to select all of the pins for the snowflakes. If you want to, just get rid of them, then you could just. So let's say I've done this, but then I'm like, okay, well, I really don't want any of the snow, but I want the preset that I used. Then come back to your history and go back to where before you, well, this one doesn't have a preset to it. So I can just come back to import, or hit reset. But if I had done, say, this one right here, use your history and just go back to before you did it. So maybe right here. There we go. So I don't have to repeat everything. I have everything I want, just not that. And then maybe I want to use the brushes to just put a few snowflakes in here and there. Okay, I keep saying one more, so just really one more, because I got to head home. All right, let's see. So this is Tina's question. Only certain presets are layerable, and all you have to do is click on each preset. Yes. So let me show you a preset. Let me show you this one. Okay. So this one I've only edited with brushes, right? That's all I've done. And I'm going to use the workflow presets. Whoops. Okay. So I can do all-in-one clean edit, which is very handy. Okay, so it's all in one. What that means is it did a little bit of brightening, a little tiny bit of contrast, maybe. It did a little bit of clarity. It sharpened it. It might add a little noise reduction, maybe a little vignette. It did a little bit of everything that most pictures might need. Again, it's not one size fits all. So this is for a general picture, an all-in-one. And remember, I already brightened her up. With a brush. If I didn't want to do that, I'm going to back up and I could come down here and say, okay, I want to soften it a little bit. If I needed to fix reds, I could fix reds a little bit. If there's any red splotchiness. If I wanted a little bit of color pop, I could do that. Maybe a little extra contrast. I could add a lot of contrast. Maybe I would need to brighten her up a little bit. Okay. If I just want to brighten the center, I could do that. If I need to darken, we want to lighten the shadows. If there's clipping is where an area that's really been overexposed and it's way too bright, we can recover clipping. I'm just going down the list here. So with this one, it was shot at ISO 320. So normally there wouldn't be much noise. However, anytime you underexpose in camera, there's going to be a fair amount of noise. And remember when we zoomed into her, we really zoomed in? She was pretty noisy. Okay, so it was pretty noisy. So I might want to add a fair amount of noise reduction to kind of smooth that out a little bit. And then I might want to sharpen for portraits. I might want a low vignette. Okay, and there's some warming. All right, so now let's just back up. And we can see, like Lightroom's getting a little slow here, our before and after. Oh, you're seeing a little bit of clipping here. That's that red, but I'm not going to worry about it. All right. Whoops. So there's the before and after using the workflow, which layers on different edits we might need. And then the clean and creative, you can layer on creative looks. So you might make it, if we were doing this one, clean and creative, come up to it here. Here we can choose one from each different section. So this is Vintage Plum, Vintage Warm. So I might say, okay, I want that. And then maybe I can choose one from one option from the two. So I might say, okay, might choose strawberries, So we can choose our different looks. I'm gonna back up. Okay, back up again. There we go. And so let's see, instead I'll do blueberries. Then I can come down and choose one from here. I could choose like a hazy matte. So I'm creating my own special custom look that I want. And that's how that one works. And let's see, we can add some pink tone, pink light, just some warm light. So it's just different things you can do with the Clean and Creative. But that is that.